This new tariff problem is now hurting Alberta, Canada. Alberta mostly sells energy to the United States. But beef and dairy are also big exports. Now, those are in danger too. Donald Trump says Canada puts very high taxes on U.S. dairy. He says the taxes are 200%, 250%, or even 300%. In less than 2 days, Canada sent back over 200 containers of American cheese. These containers were worth almost $3 billion. Canada said no to the cheese and returned it to the U.S. The 300% tax made the cheese too expensive to sell in Canada. So it became waste, stuck in the U.S. now. All that cheese is being sold in American stores at very low prices. But the truth is, most of it is old and almost expired. It was already rejected by other countries. In Wisconsin, some farmers are pouring milk down the drain. They can't sell it. At Walmart, Target, and other big stores, a price war has started. But this is not a good sign. The U.S. government has said nothing about this. It's like they are pretending it didn't happen. But this is more than just a trade problem. It feels like an attack on American farmers. Now, U.S. shoppers are buying the leftover dairy that other countries refused. This is just the start of the crisis. In today's video, we'll talk about how Canada's Mark Carney hit the U.S. dairy industry hard. This was not just about taxes. Canada made a strong move that hurt U.S. dairy badly. Since the 1960s, Canada has controlled its dairy industry with something called supply management. This system controls how much dairy is made and sold. It uses limits and taxes to manage prices and imports. Under the USMCA trade deal, the U.S. was only allowed to sell a small amount of dairy to Canada. This was about 3.6% of Canada's dairy market. If the U.S. sold more than that, Canada could add high taxes. In July 2025, the U.S. sent too much cheese. Canada reacted fast. They added the 300% tax. They also cut the amount of dairy they would import from the U.S. Because of this, hundreds of containers full of cheese, butter, and milk were blocked at the border. They were sent back to the U.S. Most of these products were already old and close to expiration. Some had already been rejected by other countries. U.S. Customs said many of the shipments were turned away with no clear reason. This included special cheeses like Italian-style cheese. These items were made for export but are now being sold as waste inside the U.S. The International Dairy Foods Association said that when the limit is passed, taxes can go up to 300%. This makes the loss very big, sometimes tens of millions of dollars per shipment. In Wisconsin, California, and other farming areas, small farms are suffering. They can't sell their milk. Some farmers are dumping it. It's a sad picture of a broken industry. In 2020, Wisconsin had almost 7,000 dairy farms. Now, many of them have closed. Prices are too low. When there is too much dairy and prices crash, it becomes a serious crisis. Cheap cheese is everywhere in U.S. stores. But this is not a good thing. It is just rejected food from other countries. Many Americans think they are getting a great deal. But really, they are paying the price of a trade war. They are eating products that others didn't want. The White House has stayed silent. That makes people wonder. Is this all because of a bad Trump policy? Was it a risky move against Canada and Mexico? Canada did not just raise taxes. They also reduced how much U.S. dairy they would buy. This has hurt the very heart of the American dairy industry. This is not just about low prices anymore. Now it's a fight about national pride. And regular Americans are paying the price again and again. For people in the U.S., especially those aged 21 to 54, cheap cheese in stores may look like a good deal. But behind those discounts is the hidden damage of a broken trade deal. In the past few weeks, stores like Walmart, Target, and Kroger are full of cheese with "shock sale" signs. But most people don't know that this cheese was rejected by Canada. These cheese products are almost expired. Some were frozen to make them last longer. There are no warning labels on the packages. Stores don't have to tell shoppers that this cheese was meant to be sold in other countries but is now being sold in the US. These low prices won't stay for long. The sales are not because people really want the cheese. The companies just want to quickly get rid of extra products and clear out containers. Shoppers may think they are getting a bargain, but they are actually buying goods that other countries didn't want. The quality and the source of the food are not clear anymore. In Canada, things are different. Dairy products like milk and cheese follow strong rules. Since the 1960s, Canada has used a system called supply management. It controls how much dairy is produced and checks that it is safe. Canada also has a program called Pro Action. This program makes sure milk has no growth hormones or antibiotics. Canadian farmers must test every batch of milk before they use it. This helps build trust between farmers and customers. The difference between the US and Canada is very clear. The cheese now in US stores might not meet strong safety standards. In Canada, milk is checked carefully before it is sold or exported. Provinces like Quebec and Ontario even use tracking systems. They make sure each shipment is safe and made the right way. Each product must be free of hormones and antibiotics. Canada does not allow farms to produce too much in harmful ways. So the next time you see cheap cheese in a US store, remember this. It is not a health benefit. It is the result of a broken system. Americans are now eating products that other countries refused to buy. While Canada protects its food with strict rules, Americans are buying dairy with no labels and no warnings. And they don't even know where it came from. This is not just about low prices. This is about food safety and public trust. For many American families, the shock sale signs may look like good news. But they are hiding a much bigger problem. The food system is breaking down. Big companies like Land O'Lakes and Kraft are in trouble. Their storage spaces are full. Warehouse and shipping costs are rising every day. They have too much cheese, milk, and butter. So they are trying to sell it fast. But they are not telling the public the full story. They are afraid people will stop buying their products. Things got worse when the National Milk Producers Federation gave a warning. By the middle of 2025, the US dairy industry had lost $7 billion. This happened because of Canada and Mexico's high tariffs. It also happened because of higher costs in the supply chain. This number is not just big. It makes people ask a serious question. Is American farming falling apart? Farm leaders sent emergency letters to the White House. They asked the government to help. But until now, there is no clear plan. Only promises and silence. Experts say if the government doesn't act soon, the dairy industry could crash in 6 to 12 months. Some states, like Wisconsin, once known as the cheese capital, have a short-term idea. They want to buy the extra cheese and give it to local people for free. But this kind of small plan is not enough. It cannot save the whole dairy industry. Canada did more than raise tariffs or limit imports. They hit the heart of America's food system, its trust. Farmers are losing hope. They are pouring out their milk. Shoppers are now asking questions. Is this food safe? Are we eating expired products? Now, the connection between farmers, the government, and regular people is full of confusion. If the US government does not act soon, the future of American dairy is at serious risk. We need real money, a better supply system, and honest labels. Only then can trust be rebuilt. The dairy crisis is not just about money. It's also about national trust. Canada has strong rules. They check every step of their dairy process. They look for hormones, antibiotics, and make sure the products are safe. But in the US, cheap cheese is now filling shelves in a system with weak rules. This is not just a trade problem. This is a broken system. And regular Americans are paying the price for a trade war they never agreed to. When Canada put a 300% tax on US dairy to protect its farmers, Washington said almost nothing. There were no real talks. No emergency help. Not even a message to calm the public. And now, the crisis is spreading. It's not just Canada. The European Union, Japan, and Australia are also looking at banning or taxing U.S. dairy. A report from the European Commission says over $72 billion worth of U.S. goods, including cheese, could face new taxes. This is because the U.S. is pushing out too much cheap, low-quality dairy. That means even America's closest allies are starting to pull back. Back home, Americans think they're getting a great deal on cheese. But in reality, they're eating food that other countries didn't want. Some cheese is almost expired. Some is old inventory. Some may not meet safety rules used in Europe or Canada. There are no warning labels. No clear signs about where the cheese came from. And no system to keep shoppers safe from the side effects of this trade war. America's food system was once strong and trusted. But now it's breaking down. Farmers are losing money. Big food companies are confused. Supermarkets are losing profits. And regular people are now being sold products that no other country would accept. Even worse than the economic loss is the loss of trust in the supply chain, trust in the government, and trust in the food we eat. This isn't just about one tax. It's a big test for Washington. Will the U.S. government act fast to save the dairy industry? Or will they do nothing, just to protect their political image? Will leaders admit they made mistakes, fix them, and rebuild the system? This cheese story is no longer just about prices or trade. It now stands for something bigger: the right to safe food, the right to strong food laws, and the right to trust the people in charge. If Washington doesn't act soon, what started as just a few containers of rejected cheese may become the biggest disaster in American farming this decade. Farm by farm, family by family, people are watching these trade issues closely. Because their future depends on it. If you want to keep up with what's happening, don't forget to subscribe to Deep State and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on global politics and the economy.